All right, so yeah, once again, welcome to this video. Welcome to Steelman, where we discuss critical thinking and debate. My name is Sylvain, and today I'll be reviewing the second video of the Oxford Union topic: Has woke culture gone too far? So if you haven't watched the first video, I'll put it somewhere in the link. But yeah, let's do it. I think this guy is gonna be talking that he's like don't think that woke culture has gone too far, but we'll see. I'm not sure.
Has gone too far. This notion is a bit of a strange one, given that our very own Oxford English Dictionary defines the term woke as well-informed, up-to-date, and alert to racial or social discrimination and injustice.
Okay, see, so already starting with a strong, well, a definition, right? Because yeah, people they will have like a different definition of the words that are related to the topic, and he's arguing his point from this definition, right? So yeah, I think like you need to frame it, right? You need to say, okay, like this is what I'm gonna be discussing about, and whatever is outside, it's not something necessarily that we'll be discussing. You could talk about everything, but if you talk about everything and whatever, at some point, like it's hard to understand, right? Like it's more precise if you just you select a definition, you argue with it and all.
Take this definition as given. It's a bit confusing to me how someone could possibly argue that these ideals have gone too far. The opposition tonight, however, will try their hardest to argue that the word woke has taken on a completely different meaning. Sorry. One representing censorship, oppression, and snowflake Gen Z students being brainwashed by the evil left-wing education system. The phrases freedom of speech and cancel culture are ones that we passed around casually tonight, surely with little explanation of what they mean or entail, in true scaremongering fashion. I will make two main points tonight. Firstly, that the right to freedom of speech does not imply the right to freedom from consequence. And secondly, that the majority of ideals that so often people correlate with woke culture are rational, compassionate, and not as scary as the Daily Mail may have had you believe. Before all that fun business, though, it gives me a great pleasure to introduce your proposition speakers for tonight. You've just heard from Pradeep, a fellow committee member and classics student at Christchurch. Considering Vedika studies classics, it's not at all surprising to me that she's arguing against modern social attitudes tonight. After all, she has spent the last 2 years of her degree living thousands and thousands of years in the past.
From what I saw, like in this Oxford debate, well, the first thing is like, yeah, the fact that like they refer to each other and all, like you just like talk about like the previous guest, well, speaker, and now like he's making a joke about her. I think it's a good thing, because sometimes debate like the tension. There are subjects that contain so much tension, and like just being able to no like reduce the tension, make some joke like in a way that of saying yeah, like we don't necessarily agree or whatever, but we're all here. We want to discuss some topics, issues, and but regardless of our differences in opinion, we still, I guess, acknowledge each other as individuals who have like their own thought and perspective, and yeah, because like it's the idea that it's in a civil manner, right? Like I think it's so important, and yeah, I wonder if it's something that is like lost today. Like there are some places where debate like this it just doesn't happen. I don't know how long they've been doing that for, but I'll be curious to look into it. Definitely, I'll have to do it.
After that, you will hear Toby Young's views on the matter. Mr. Young is the founder of the Free Speech Union and an associate editor of The Spectator. In 2020, amidst the pandemic, Mr. Young was outraged when PayPal shut down his Free Speech Union accounts as a result of him retweeting misinformation about the COVID infection rates. Let's just hope for all of our sakes that he's learned his lesson and has managed to find reliable sources for tonight. Next, you'll hear from Tommy Webb, a committee member from Teddy Hall. It's really great to see Tommy here in the flesh, and actually quite a new experience, given that he was nowhere to be seen when we were all working on the term card during the fact. Finally, you'll hear from Konstantin Kaiser, a satirist, podcaster, author, and political commentator. Mr. Kaiser made headlines in 2018 when he refused to sign a university behavioural agreement form, prohibiting jokes about sensitive social issues. He's a perfect fit for the Oxford Union.
Okay, I think I understand. Well, perhaps I missed something because like I don't know like most of these people, most of the speaker in there, but I think that the way that they do things is that there are like two students that come and present like I guess like the topic in some way or form, and then like they present the other speakers. I'm not sure, to be honest, for this one. Yeah, maybe you know.
As he is no stranger.
It's never something that I've been paying attention to, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, maybe, I don't know. Yeah.
Just debating controversial topics and asking the biggest questions of our time. For example, only a couple of weeks ago, he sparked a furious debate on Twitter when he made the unbelievable claim that Marmite was the work of the devil. Mr. President, these are your guests, and they are most welcome. So, freedom of speech. You can't open social media these days without someone banging on about these three words. It seems to somehow be one of the most divisive phrases in modern culture, despite it leading to the hugely important ideas of free expression and free thought. This very society was founded upon the principles of upholding freedom of speech for both students and staff under religious censorship in the university. It may be surprising to some people, even though I find myself on this side of the aisle, I believe freedom of speech is fundamental to the functioning of society and the basis for cultural progression. However, the issue we find with freedom of speech these days is the majority of people do not seem to understand the simple fact that freedom of speech does not imply freedom from consequence. Here's how I see it. Anybody here is well within their rights to stand up and shout abuse at a bouncer in a queue. However, that does not mean you should later expect to be allowed into the club. Kanye West was well within his rights to make anti-Semitic comments on Twitter, as were Adidas when they abandoned him and took away a huge chunk of his earnings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, these are a good example of like you could say canceling culture and all that stuff, but I wonder if it's something that really is inside of well, yeah, that's the problem with woke culture because it's such a broad thing. Because yeah, I think like these are I think that what you just like gave like about like Kanye West and all, I think these were a good example, the idea of like free speech and all. Because he seems like to I guess defending the idea that like as you said that free speech like yeah it's a good thing like it's a bedrock of like the civilization blah 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 of modern society. I think he said it. I'm not sure. And it's not because that there is freedom of speech that there is freedom of consequences, and I think that most people would agree with that. But yeah, I don't know how much of that is like woke culture. But I guess no, I don't know. I'm not sure because when I think this argument and all, and I'm like trying like to filter it like through like what I know about all of this, I'm like, I'm not sure like if it's enough. But if I just take what he says, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's I think it's good enough, right? I'm not sure. You tell me. You tell me.
Everybody here is well within their rights to tweet exactly what they think on every single social issue out there. However, a future employer is also well within their rights to judge you for it and act accordingly. It's a good system, and one that I would argue is responsible for much of the progression of social attitudes we've seen. You say your thoughts on something?
Okay, yeah, so what he just said, that's where I'm not too sure about it. And I don't know. I really don't know. like what you say on social media can be like goes against you. Is that what he said?
It's a good system, and one that I would argue is responsible for much of the progression of social. However, a future employer is also well within their rights to judge you for it and act accordingly. It's a good system,
Yeah,
and one that I would argue.
I don't that's where like I have some difficult. Well, I don't know for this one because at the end of the day, we all change, right? Uh, this one, I think I would disagree, but how do you enforce that? That's also like one of the question. How do you enforce that? Social media, free speech, I think has now a different meaning. It's not never something that I really like thought about like until like these like recent years, free speech. Like what is that? But yeah.
Is responsible for much of the progression of social attitudes we've seen. You say your thoughts on something. If it makes reasonable sense and the majority of society agrees, it becomes accepted. If not, it gets rejected. This is the process through which attitudes and cultures change. The issue I'm sure the opposition will have tonight, however, is with a part of this process involves rejecting thoughts. The process of rejecting thoughts that simply don't go along with the woke left snowflake radical agenda. Which leads me on to my next point. How radical really are the views associated with the word woke? A poll from YouGov in mid-2021 did some research into what views people most commonly associate with the word woke. Topping the list of evil, radical, woke sins were the support of Black Lives Matter, equality for LGBTQ+, and the removal of statues of slave traders. I don't know about you guys, but to me, these don't sound diabolical or evil in any way. What about this has or can go too far? People using their democratic right to protest police brutality, believing that people should be able to freely express themselves and be who they want to be, believing that, removing statues, which puts some of the most evil people in history quite literally up on a pedestal. I hope the majority of you would agree these views are not extreme or dangerous. If this is what people associate with so-called woke culture, then to me, the definition of the word woke has not changed one bit. It still upholds values of being aware of.
Yeah, I think what I would say about that, and once again, that's my guess, right? But I think that in saying that, like I wonder like how much did he does he know about like the perspective of the opposite side? Um, and my guess is that because I think that most people would agree with that, nowadays, like they will refer that, but perhaps like I guess like it would be like in the difference in how do we solve those issues, how do we solve them, you know? Because for instance, like the thing about like the statue, uh, that's that's an interesting subject. That's an interesting subject because it's been going on for like quite a while, and like in a lot of places, like in some colonized country and all, like you even see that. So in a way, I think it makes more sense to have that in the colonized places. But the in the well, when I say colonized places, I mean like the places where people were colonized and like they're still there. Because like if you take it for instance, like America, like Canada and like the United States of America, yeah, it was colonized, but like it was also like the people native to the land, they're not they do not dominate here, right? And yeah, like some statue were like erected there. So like it has I think it has different meaning. Um, but yeah, I guess like what the other side would have like against that is that mainly that wall. It's more like about like the way, because when you are taking a statue and you are like trying to bring it down by yourself, yeah, like it doesn't align with the rules of like the I guess the city or the whatever, right? Because it's public property, right? So you're not allowed to do this. But yeah, I think having a discussion about it, like, it's definitely a good thing, you know. But yeah, I guess like it's not generally the how, you know, like the what people would agree, the why people I think there could be common ground, but then the how do we solve those issues that you listed before? I think it's generally like where the it's gonna be harder to have like a common ground for this from both sides. That's my guess, you know.
What's going on in the world
I might be wrong.
and supporting racial and social justice. The real truth of the matter is that this word has been appropriated from its original foundation in the civil rights movement through right-wing bigoted rhetoric into a buzzword that can be deployed in 10-second TikToks to radicalize young people into supporting outdated, illogical, and harmful social attitudes. We need to.
But I think in this sense, it's a bit true, right?
Rights movement through right-wing bigoted rhetoric into a buzzword, it still upholds the values of being aware of what's going on in the world and supporting racial and social justice. The real truth of the matter is that this word has been appropriated from its original foundation in the civil rights movement through right-wing bigoted rhetoric into a buzzword that can be deployed in 10-second TikToks to radicalize young people into supporting outdated, illogical, and harmful social attitudes. We need to reset and reclaim this word for what it actually means, not the political tool that the right wing has turned it into.
Yeah, the definition of woke, you know, before I think that most people didn't even know about that, right? But now, like, it's like woke, and it has, I think it's true, it has in a way a bit of like a negative connotation nowadays, you know. I think before, yeah, people they were saying, yeah, woke and all. I don't know how much they were like defining themselves as like, oh yeah, I'm woke and blah blah blah. But nowadays, like, yeah, I'm seeing that a negative connotation, you know. But yeah, people use the word different in a different way, right? So yeah, I guess I will agree with that. I think it's
With that, I'll conclude. Both the very definition of woke culture given by the dictionary and the common attitude among the public say that this phenomenon is not what the Daily Mail wants you to believe. It still very much stands for believing in equality, freedom, and acceptance. Without these values, we are nothing. Therefore, I urge you all to vote down this motion tonight and walk out the no door. Thank you.
yeah. I think that this video was good enough, right? Well, good. I think he agrees his point, you know, from like you know, the way that his definition and all. So yeah, this was well, all right. Thanks for listening. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think about this video. Do you think that like it was a good analysis of his argumentation? Let me know. I'll see you next time.